What's up guys, my name is Aaron. Today I'm going to be reviewing Death Note. This movie is directed by Adam Wingard. It's based on the manga series of the same name. The movie stars Nat Wolff, Margaret Qualley, Keith Stanfield, Paul Nakauchi, Shea, Whigham, and Willem, Dafoe. It's a supernatural horror film that's based on the original anime manga series. It's basically about this high school student who comes across a supernatural notebook, realizing it holds within it a great power. The owner inscribes someone's name into it while picturing their face. He or she will die. Because he's infatuated with these godlike abilities, he begins to start killing people that he deems unworthy of life. I'm not familiar with the anime or the manga. I know of it. I know loosely about what it's about. I know the characters Light, L, and Ryuk. I just haven't watched the anime or anything like that. I was looking forward to this because Adam Wingard is a pretty good director. The Guest is one of my favorite movies, and Blair Witch isn't like a bad movie. I think it's fine for what it is. I think he's a director with a lot of flair, and I think that he always creates like a really cool atmosphere with his movies. The cast is pretty stellar. I think Nat Wolff is a pretty good young actor. Things that I've seen him in, like Palo Alto and Paper Towns, I think he's pretty good in. Same thing with Margaret Qualley, like a Leftovers, I think he's pretty great in that too. Keith Stanfield is somebody that I'm really looking forward to seeing because he always brings like a really good commitment to his roles and stuff, and he's just really like a really cool like showcase in whatever movies that he's in. Shea Whigham is always a nice presence in movies, and I can say the same thing with Willem Dafoe. I think he was made to do this type of role. I know people are like upset about the whitewashing thing, but it doesn't really factor into this review. I think because they made it into like an American thing, it's not really set in Japan like Ghost in the Shell was. I don't really see the big issues with that aspect of the movie, but overall I did go into this with an open mind. But this is just like a movie. I can't say this is like a bad movie per se, but it's not really like a good movie per se either. Just a kind of average meh movie to me. I'm gonna start with the positives. I do think the movie is filmed really well. I think the opening sequence kind of traced into the movie that you're gonna get, because it's like this really hauntingly dreamy slow motion scene that introduces Light in his school and like the faction, and it's set to a pop song. It's really well done, and it's reminiscent of Wingard's earlier work like in The Guest. I always loved the 80s prestige that Wingard effortlessly displayed in The Guest, and he also throws that in here for good measure. A lot of the shots in the movies are drenched in neon lights, giving it a cool vibe that really sets it apart from different movies. It really reminds me of like Blade Runner at times. Like it kind of has this cyberpunk aesthetic to the movie. The score is really pulsating, and it has this like moving synth that really drives the movie really well. It also creates a really nice vibe for the movie. The soundtrack is mostly 80s pop music that coincides with the macabrely glib violence in a really cute but effective way. Like I like the way that it kind of have these kind of pop songs over this like violence and stuff like that. I thought that was a really cool touch. It really reminded me of The Guest on certain scenes. I thought the actual design of Ryuk was really stunning, like really realistic, because he's really shrouded in darkness and shadows throughout the movie, and it's convincing considering how fantastical the design is. They really did a really good job with Ryuk. I thought it was a really well done use of CGI and the suit and stuff like that. Really well done. There's a late movie foot race sequence that's really great. The never ending notion of it really immerses you into the action, even though I think Keith Stanfield running in that scene is kind of goofy. Like he really seems like an alien or like a anime creature. I think that is still really well done. I think Wingard's flair for filmmaking is still here in abundance. I think without question. I think from a filmmaking aspect, I don't think you can really like fault this movie, like the way that it looks and stuff like that. I don't think that's even up for debate. I think the movie that he was trying to make aesthetically looks good. I do think the supporting characters are really good for this type of material. I think Shea Whigham does his typical Shea Whigham thing, like a really gruff and to the point dude with a heart of gold. He plays Light's father, who is like this police chief and stuff. I think he can do this type of thing in his sleep. Like I've seen him do this type of stuff on like Kong Skull Island and Fargo. He just does this really naturally to me, and I think he even kind of throws in a little bit of humanity and vulnerability into this role that maybe the script didn't have. While I didn't think Willem Dafoe had a lot to do as Ryuk, leaves a lasting impression as this really creepy and demonic creature that's like the devil in Light's ear. He's really unsettling, but it's something that's really in Dafoe's acting wheelhouse. I think Keith Stanfield is definitely like the best part of the movie with his absolutely scene-stealing performance as L. He's like this loner, super genius, but possibly autistic detective who's tracking me on Light. Stanfield throws in a lot of like acting ticks that recall someone like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. I love how he always haunches and crouches in every scene like he's like an anime character. His liking of like just shoving candy in his face in every single scene, I thought that was a really nice touch. The way that he kind of just didn't look at anybody and stuff, I thought that was a kind of a nice touch of kind of making it seem a little bit more autistic, I guess, and a little bit more like he doesn't connect with anybody. Like I thought that was really well done. I think the way that he kind of captured that dedication to just getting Light was just really convincing conveyed really well. There's a lot of conviction to every action that Stanfield makes to Elle. I think he even managed to get like a little arc and true feeling out of this role, especially in a later scene that kind of tells how he feels. It's the type of performance that would garner award recognition if it was in a good movie. I'm kind of sad that he wasted this type of performance on this movie, but I think he really makes this a lot more watchable and stuff than it really is. I think where the movie kind of falls is basically the leads, like with Light and Mia. I don't think Nat Wolff and Margaret Qualley are bad actors. I've seen them be great in different things. I think Qualley kind of fits here a little bit better because her role here is just kind of like an extension of her role in The Leftovers season 1 to me. This kind of like unaffected bad girl type of role. I think she does that really well, and she comes across believable in the role, even though the role is kind of underwritten in this movie, particularly her character. I think Nat Wolff seems completely out of his depths here. Like, I was looking forward to this because I think Nat Wolff is a good actor in most movies I've seen him in. I think he's really good in Palo Alto. I think he's really good in Paper Towns, and I think he's pretty good in The Fault in Our Stars, even though I really don't like that last movie. But here he just comes across like laughable in scenes that are supposed to be frightening. Like, there's a scene where he sees Ryuk and he just screams. Like, it just comes across funny, like the way that he acts in that scene. He seems goofy in scenes where he's supposed to be badass. He seems hopelessly inept in scenes where he's supposed to be in charge and intimidating and stuff. To me, every single time that he's trying to set a tone, it just seems like the complete antithesis of that tone that he's trying to set. And I thought that he was perfect for this type of role, especially given his work in Palo Alto, where he naturally comes across as this like apathetic and sociopathic type of teenager. But to me, he was just like a complete miscast. I'm not sure if Wingard was trying to make a comedy with that type of role, because the movie kind of rides that dark comedy line, but it just felt flat to me the way that he portrayed that role. I don't think Wolff and Qualley had any chemistry together. They're really trying to go for that type of vibe with like Veronica and JD and Heather's this like young couple in a toxic relationship. Because they have such little chemistry together, their underwritten motivations and their mayhem that they set out really doesn't make any sense, because they're the ones that are kind of doing these killings and stuff as like a Bonnie and Clyde type of situation. There's not like a lot of character development to establish why she's doing the things that she's doing and why she would even care to even be in this situation. To me, like, Light's motivations in the movie seem so wishy-washy. There's no clear reasoning behind any action that he does outside of that his mom died and the guy got away. That's it really with the movie. There's really no like exploration into his psyche or anything like that. Doesn't really explain how tortured he is. Like, he looks tortured, I guess, if you're like in 2007 and he shot the Hot Topic, but it's just his appearance. He doesn't seem like a tortured dude in this movie. I think Wingard was definitely trying to make two different types of movies here. I think he was trying to go for like a love triangle between Heather's True Romance and Donnie Darko, like a dark comedy type of movie about these young people, and that's meeting Final Destination. I also think he was making like a psychological thriller that I think is more in line with what the anime and the manga is set out to be. I think the first mode could have worked if this was like an original story that was kind of inspired by Death Note, I guess. If he was kind of focusing on that tone, I think that would be cool. But I think that the more riveting like detective stuff with Elle really clashed with that really badly. It just felt like a puzzle that just didn't fit. Like, he was trying to make it fit, but like it just didn't mesh all that well to me. It felt like they would go with their like non-chemistry love story with Light and Mia, and then this like David Fincher-esque detective thriller. It just wasn't like a good match to me tonally to me. I think overall this movie is just like a mess. I think the actual filmmaking is really well done. Like, this kind of like 80s synth cyberpunk style is really well done. I think Wingard does a really good job kind of creating this tone, and like the soundtrack and stuff, and like the way that the music kind of intercuts with the action. I think that's really well done. The supporting actors are pretty great in their roles, especially Stanfield. I think the plot is actually entertaining, and I could see why somebody would be really into this. I think the tone is completely like messed up. Like, it really feels like he didn't know what he was doing. I felt the script was just comically messed up. Like, they were trying to cram so much stuff into this. I felt like it would have breathed a little bit better if this was like 6 or 8 episodes on Netflix. You know what I mean? I think Nat Wolff is like really bad in this. He really distracted from my enjoyment of the movie. You really get no reasoning behind the main characters. You really don't understand why they're doing the things they're doing. This isn't like a terrible movie, but this isn't like a good movie at all. So I would give this like a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I really was looking forward to this, but this was just like a disappointment to me. I think Adam Wingard really needs to get a W, because he's the one that's directing the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie, and if this is what his last project before that, I don't have a lot of faith in that movie. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Death Note, the Netflix movie. What are your guys' thoughts? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments what you thought, and thanks for watching. Thanks, guys. Bye.